Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sorry, Mike. I couldn't have. I didn't get a chance to call you, but I think we start with the text, but we'll catch up.
No problem. Sounds good.
Well, it's great to see you. I'm just admiring the faces. It's good to see friends back into the game. Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Sean, Bobby, Tom.
Good morning.
Tyler, Gavin, Billy, Don, Mike, Tom Grohl is here. Look at that. What's up? Melissa, Boots, Daniel, Stephanie, Corey, Claudia. I thought, Claudia, you were upset with us.
No. Just a mix up.
That's perfectly fine. And you know, I shaved and took a shower for you guys.
All right. We have the wine and dinner ready for you.
So we're gonna get started
And
early.
you combed your hair, Gaurav.
Yeah, I do need a haircut. It's like starting to roll from the back at this point.
Oh, looks good. Hi, Marcy.
Hi.
Alrighty, so this is I'm telling you, this Thursday's meeting is a commitment. Oh my God! Like every Wednesday night, I have like a 3 a.m.er. I can't figure. You know, it's becoming challenging because the most common ones: negotiating, lead generation, database, mindset. Like these are the common stuff that you have to come up with, and then nobody's helping me either. When I send us something like in the morning, saying, "Hey guys, what do you guys want to talk about?" Crickets. And then I think somebody said in later on, Mike, I think you said something about COVID-19 and stuff like that. But unless we know everything, or we're shy of talking about what we need to do, I need some input of what you guys need help with, because to me in life, any business, any work, it's all about mindset. So I always to push myself, I talk about my mindset, and if you have the right mindset and you have the right reasoning, you can achieve any heights possible or anything in life. But if you don't have the right mindset, then it doesn't matter what business we are in, or what are we doing on a daily basis. I'm gonna mute you, Sean, while you're doing all those things. Back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So but I don't want to keep talking about mindset, because I think it becomes boring after a while. That it's the same philosophical stuff. So I thought about the questions that you guys asked me, and the questions were more about COVID-19.
But I don't want myself.
What do we do for the sellers?
No, where?
John Borelli, I'm going to mute you as well. Juanita, I'm going to mute you as well. So I came up with a topic that I thought, if I was an agent showing properties, what would I really would like to know? Because I think that it's a concept between mindset and sales. So what you need to understand when people are asking, or sellers are asking you, buyers are asking you, what do I need to do? Should I sell? Should I not sell? How to sell it? What to list it at? It comes down to market snapshot, or market. How's the market doing, and do you have a clear understanding of it? So let's start the conversation. And I know I can never make Claudia show her video, but she did once, and I appreciate that, Claudia, very much, for the video that you sent for Red Day. So besides Claudia, if everybody else who is and can put your video on, I would request you to do it. Don't be shy. And if you're running around the house making coffee, and that's okay. But if you can't, I understand. There are times when people can't show the video. All right, so I'm going to start. First question first. Did everybody reach out to one other person? Who was your accountability partner? And if anyone who has an accountability partner who's not here, put a thumbs down. Okay, so all your accountability partners are not here, and that's wanted as well. So
Tom Grohl is here. Tommy's here.
Great. So everybody whose accountability partner is not here, we don't make any more money, or I don't get any more credits, or if it's not for me, it's for them, and it's really a true team environment where we need to continue pushing each other. So if they are not here, reach out to them, have a call, just ask them, why, what can we do to help? So if each one of us picks one person, I think we can help all of us, each other out. Okay, all right, let's get started.
Sorry, G, that's me texting.
Everybody see this? Okay. Unfortunately, it takes both my screens when I do that. Is this okay? We can see it? All right, okay. Wonderful. Where's my screen stick? Okay. All right. So understanding the market. I'm going to start unmuting some of the people so we can have a conversation about it. Claudia, I'm going to unmute you. So don't worry. Okay, actually, I shouldn't be doing that because people might be doing something and I can just randomly unmute them. I shouldn't be doing that. I'll ask you first and tell you if you want to unmute yourself and talk about it. So Claudia, if I may ask you a question, are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? Okay, not around. How about Mike Cohen? Are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market?
Oops. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Claudia, yes.
Did you hear me as I was giving my answer before?
Oh, no, we did not hear you. We thought you were doing some coffee then.
Oh, I was saying it was originally my thought was, oh, it's a seller's market because there's so little on the market that things, if they're priced right, are going so quickly. But I'm having success with my buyers too. So
Okay.
I'm pretty happy on both sides.
Okay, that's great. So if you had to pick one.
I would say it's a seller's.
Okay, Mike?
I tend to agree. I mean, I think there's a vast undersupply. I think we would all agree of single family homes, so in that respect, sellers. But rentals wise, it's been oversupply of apartments. So it's definitely a tenant's market there. Condos, I think it depends.
Okay.
I'm not sure as much on that one.
Okay. Tom, if you had to have a conversation with the seller, and I was the seller at that time, and I asked you came for a listing presentation, and I asked you, so we're gonna do a little bit of role play, and I'm gonna ask you, hey Tom, I'm the seller, right? So Tom, what do you think, is it the buyer's market or seller's market?
I would say, yeah, priced right, it's certainly a seller's market. But I mean, I know from experience that I have two listings that I know are kind of overpriced. So I don't think you can necessarily push it because they will sit. But yeah, priced right, it is going to go quick.
And so if it's a seller's market, so how much more do you think I can get this year than I was supposed to get last year?
Hey, maybe 5% or so. I mean, right now, interest rates are at historic lows. There's low inventory. So buyers actually have a little bit more buying power with lower with lower rates. So yeah, slightly more. I'd say this time from last year, maybe 5% or so, give or take.
Okay. And how much what are you seeing these days about people who are putting in the market? Is it the right time to put in the market?
Yes. Yep. I would say, I think, hey, where we kind of had this, we kind of are going through this cycle where, hey, with this pandemic, it happened mid-March. So really people didn't take it serious until the end of March. April was kind of shut down, but really the second May 1st hit, I think people started to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So buyers, sellers, everyone was calling more. So I would say, hey, at this point, I think people are ready to buy. So if I was advising you as a seller, I would say, yes, now is a good time.
Okay, so that's a great answer, Tom. So this is usually a conversation that we all have with people, right? When we're talking to buyers and sellers, we're having this casual conversation. Now let's take it a little bit more deeper. So if I'm a savvy buyer or seller, and this is the answer that every agent is giving to everyone. So now if I go and ask, let's pick somebody else as well. Say, Tyler, if I had to ask you, how many more homes are being sold now than they were sold last year?
Well, I have to look because I don't know the answer off the top of my head. But I don't know. I would say probably like up to this point in the year, I would say probably 40% less if I were to just make a guess.
Okay. What's the average price that we can see now that people are selling the price? What is the sales price comparison now to versus last April or last May?
Well, back to like what Tom said, 5% increase.
5% increase. So
I don't know the answer you're looking for. I don't know how to answer that question.
I'm setting up a base because when I was thinking about this class yesterday night and I was thinking of a topic, what made me realize, and I was asking these questions to myself and I didn't know the answers. And I thought to myself, and I'm pretty well connected with a lot of training and reading and watching a lot of news as well. If I don't know the answers, what impact would we be making if we had those answers? How much more intelligent you'll be talking about? And the answer is correct. If you don't know now, I'm going to mute you again. If I don't know now, I can always go and get it. But if I did know now, how would the conversation look like? So I started thinking about the information, and I started saying, okay, let's talk about it. This data, if I knew and I had it handy, what impact will this make on my conversation? So let's talk about this one, right? So it's a Philadelphia metro market activity, and I searched the whole internet. I found the biggest company that does the data for every market. People pay $10,000 a month for these kind of reports, and I was able to get it. It's called Bright MLS. It's a joke. It's available to everybody, but we don't see it, right? So let's just look at this one. So Bright MLS has the data, and it says is my mouse also being seen? So when I point it out,
I can't see the slide though. It's stuck on the slide number 1.
Your string is paused. Thank you. Resume share. Okay, now the comment makes more sense. So this was what is available on Bright MLS, and I got it from there. So now, can you see my mouse as well when it's moving?
You were hoping I was reading this as you were asking me the question?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So look at the median sale price. In April, it's 272 versus March is 255. You guys were right. It's about 5% more. The prices have gone up since last year, right?
Tom got the slide before everyone else.
No, and I was kind of asked that question before for like an interview, and where you kind of have to see the numbers is, I think in the beginning we were set for like a booming year. So if you kind of take it from January to end of March or end of April, numbers are not as down. But then if you just take March and April, compare it from 19 to 20, then that's where you see the dramatic just pause. But year to year, I guess comparing 19 to 20, we're probably not that far off because we were on such a hot start.
From 2019, you're up 13%. From March of 2020, you're up 6%. We were in the best market that our lives had ever seen. In 1 year, the market had appreciated about 13.4%. 5% is a very conservative answer, right? It's 13.4. Within 1 month from March, the number of median sale price, the people were buying expensive homes because the interest rate was lower. So median sale price per square foot, the median sale of, sorry, it's not the price have gone up, the average sale price had gone up. Closed sales. In March, we had 5930 sales. In April, we had 5116. We were almost about 18% down or 13.7% down. And from last year, our number of sales were down. We know the answer. We were in a pandemic and we were in a shelter in place. Median days in the market. Things were selling much faster now than they sold last year. And the reason is because there was less of an inventory available. The months of supply. We were in a 2.01 as compared to 3.07. Can anybody explain to me what months of supply mean? And not the ones that we have spoken to before. So how about Billy? I'm going to unmute you. I see you on your face. I got it. Okay, Billy, so what does 2.10 months of supply mean?
2.01?
Yeah, this months of supply, 2.01.
That means how long it stayed on the market,
No.
correct? 2.01 months of supply.
Thank you, Tyler.
Can I take a stab at it?
Yes,
go.
yes, Juanita.
Oh, wait. I didn't Google it.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was the months of available inventory that we would have for sale.
That's correct. That is correct. So think about it this way, right? If I was a seller and you asked me, and I asked you a question, I said, so how is the inventory in the market and why is it a seller's market? And you said, because inventory is low. And I asked you, how low? Very low. But what does it mean? Does anybody know what, so I'll explain to you. Months of supply means if there is no new inventory added to the market, it will take 2 months for us to sell out the whole inventory that's available. So at that given of time on April 2020, we had 2 months worth of supply left if there was no new inventory being added. How do you relate that to? What is how much should it be? What is the right number? Does anybody know? You want to take a dab at it?
6 months?
Very good answer.
what I was gonna say.
Very good answer. Ideally, in a perfect market, it should be about 6 months of supply in the market where it becomes more of a neutral, not a seller's market, not a buyer's market. Any variation from the equilibrium, if you're less number of months of supply, that means it's a seller's market because the inventory is lower. It can sway towards the seller's market. If you have more about 8 or 9 months of supply available, then buyers have a more choice. There's too much supply in the market. It's not being absorbed as fast as the buyers are buying it. So there's more supply available than the buyers. So anything over the threshold is 6. Some markets have 5, some markets have 6. But if you take between 5 and 6, that's your threshold. 2 is that much lower than the threshold. So if you're having a conversation with a seller, and I said, well, it's pretty low, but let me rephrase that script. Claudia, you're the seller, I'm the agent. I say, Claudia, this year, the inventory has been so low. We have been historically been seeing in the last 10 years, the market has been doing great. One of the major reasons is because the supply is so less and buyer demand is higher. So we don't have enough supply in the market that we can fill the requirement for what the buyers are looking for. If I knew the equilibrium was more like a 6 months of supply that should be in the market, in April 2020, we were only at 2. Mr. Seller, do you see how big of a gap we have available? Do you put things in perspective in your mind when you hear those numbers as compared to generically speaking that's how big the impact should be? As a seller, I think I'm a numbers guy. It makes a big impact. Anything that you prove facts behind it adds credibility to it. So when we speak the common language of just being about generically speaking, as compared to adding facts behind it, it's absolutely stunning the impact that you'll have. I'm going to share all this PowerPoint presentation. So Kirsten, can you please make sure that we send this to the whole team today, so that they have it as well. So now, if last year it was 3.07, they were still in a good seller's market last year because the supply was less. We went down 34% supply from last year. New listings, we only got 4,500 new listings in the month of April. Last year, during April 2019, we had 12,000 new listings come in the market. We're down 63%. So Tom, you used the number 40%, right, in your conversation. Was it you or somebody else who said 40%? It was a good guess. But the real number is 63. A 63% reduction in the inventory is a bigger impact on the factual data than 40%. 40% was winging it, 63% seems like you know your market, or you at least know your business well, right? From last month, we were down 48%, just from March to April. And we know the reasons why. March, we had half a month of availability of business, and in April, we did not. Active listings. We had 13,000 active listings in our region, in our MLS, in the month of April, down from 21,000 last year, 14,000 in the month of March. New pendings, 3,700 were pending as compared to 9,300 last year. We were 60% less in sales in the month of April. Just in March, we were in line to do about 7,000. We did 7,000, so we would have probably gone up if the median sale price and the inventory and everything was going in the right direction. We would have done bigger numbers than 7,000. This is our business. We need to look at this regularly. We should need to look at this on a monthly basis. It's available on Bright MLS. I didn't have to go too far. But if you don't have this information and you can't have this conversation with people, how are we going to stand different than the 1.4 million agents? You need to have more ammunition on your side in education, training, resources, leverage, team, all those things, but you have one chance. You have one chance when you're standing face to face with that person to make an impact, because you have one script at that time. It will matter. It will depend if you win them or you don't win them. Go back to people who have taken this negotiating class with me. I have a fundamental belief, which I do this. There's a constant negotiating. A seller or a buyer asks me a question and is trying to prove to me that they're no more than me. If I give an answer which is here, I will always have this hierarchy. But if I give an answer that has more information and knowledge than the buyer or seller, I create this hierarchy. In negotiating, this is all you're doing all day, every day. You know, why is a speaker in a webinar or in a conference able to attract people for 1 and 2 hours and some not? Because the value and the way they're saying the data they're giving us has more value, so people will stay interested. If it's not interesting, we get distracted. Then we move away. Same thing with buyers and sellers. If you don't add more value than every other agent or the stuff that they can get from Zillow or Realtor.com, why would they have this conversation with us? So this whole concept about the mindset that we need to have for our own business is accepting the fact that this business is changing. Unless we bring more value or have a higher a better pitch and better scripts and better resources and better understanding of the market, we will not be able to compete the way that we used to before. So that's why I think when I was looking at this information, it's like, wow, like even I don't know this information. So I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming you that you're not doing it. I'm just telling you that we all need to combine as a team and as agents need to looking at this data. So what I'm also going to request Kate and Melissa is that I will show you where I got this information on MLS. Let's start putting this out. People can go and get it. I understand everybody has access to it. It's a matter of clicking 5 things, but if it shows up in my inbox, I'll probably open it faster. So can we start putting this on a monthly basis? Set, when does this report come out? And there's many more slides. I want to explain them to you today so you understand how to read them, how to talk the language. And then you should look at the data every month and ask us questions if it needs to be, but then you at least know that infrastructure of how to use that data to have a conversation. Sounds good? Okay. Any questions on this sheet? This is going to be the fundamental for our class today. So any questions on this sheet?
I have a question. I might be jumping the gun, but I do get a lot of questions about, is the market going to change into a buyer's market? I mean, just taken from this, we can't predict the future.
Sure you can.
And we just say, well, this is what we know now based upon last year and this
more
year.
graphs, and the more graphs that I'm going to show you. I think you'll have a good idea. You know, you can predict the future, but you can predict the pattern where it may seem to be going. Right?
God, all right. That's a good way of saying it. Predict the pattern of the way it's going.
Looking at data, because I study data and I can see what has happened in the past, I can predict or come up with the best probability of where the market is going.
And is this market overall or neighborhoods?
You can do this at a neighborhood level as well. You can actually do this at the zip code level.
I figured that. All right, that's what I thought. I know, stupid question. I knew that answer, and that was really dumb of me.
No, it's done. Thank you for asking. It's never dumb. This you should never ever think. In this group, if anybody thinks that they're asking a dumb question, please let's not even think about it. We are so close. We are a tight group. It's talking in a closed group. You never should be afraid to ask a question. And that was actually a brilliant question. And I can assure you, half the group was having that thoughts. They didn't ask it. So thank you for asking.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
In command, there is something called a snap. Play with it because it creates a report for you. As easy as a click. It's available. You saw the value, you asked a question, and the answer is it's available so fast. Go on your Kelly app, click, say snap 19130 and look at the data. Okay? Don't do it now. Don't do it now. We'll do that later. All right. The median sales price for the month versus the same month a year ago. This is again from Bright MLS. But let's look at this. So Philadelphia Metro, the current month was 272.1. This data is coming from the previous screen of here, 272.1. Versus the same month in 2019. So the median price so think about what does the median price mean? Marcy, what does the median price mean as for our market? What does it mean?
It's the average amount that anybody would pay for a property.
Very close.
Average.
It's not about what they would pay. It's what they have paid. So we're going back in time and reading the data. This has actually happened. This data is for April, not for May. So they look at the April data and tell us in this current month of April 2020, the average or the median, because there's the average is when you come. Okay, I'm getting technical because I'm a math guy, but the difference between average and a median is you average if you have 10 numbers, you take the average of those 10 numbers. Median means where is the center, and the center could be more on the price. I have, so 272.1 means half the property sold higher than that and half the property sold lower than that. But the half the property that sold lower than that could be $1 each, right? And the half the property that sold above that could be $1 million each. An average would be 500,000, but the median is 272. You get it? So the median basically means that's in the middle of the price range that people are buying properties at. So in our metro county, 272,000 was the median price of the properties sold in April, which was higher than 250. What does that tell me? Kate, what does that tell me? I'm going to unmute you, sorry. Okay.
I was doing something else. Sorry.
Oh, my apologies. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask people before I ask this question and two before I mute them. All righty. Who else can answer? Gavin, if you want to, if you don't mind me asking you, what is the 250 versus 272 mean?
So the 250 says year to date. So I would assume that it's everything from January to now, and the current month is April. Well, it was April.
Why did it go up? What does it mean in terms of our business?
It means the prices are going up for the houses, for the sales.
Not really. And because that would be the average. The median basically means that people are buying a higher priced property, not that the values are going higher. So the reason why people are buying a higher priced property is why?
Because there's less inventory.
And also the buying power of the client has gone high. For the same monthly payment, they can actually buy a higher priced home, and that's why they're doing it. So this is because we're talking about the median, right? We're not talking about the average. So the median basically means that I can buy that's good, kid. Sorry to interrupt you. So as a buyer, we need to tell, when you're talking to a buyer, this data is the reason I'm sticking to this one is the data is so important for when we're talking to the buyers. If I'm talking to a buyer, you can tell them the median price in our Philadelphia County has actually gone up 13%. And the reason why it has gone 13% is because the interest rates are so low, buyers are now actually able to buy a higher priced house. Your affordability just went higher. So you can actually buy a better home. And the data shows that 13.4% higher can be bought. So if a buyer says, well, my budget is only 250, the first question you ask them is it because of the down payment or is it because of the monthly payment? And if they say, well, it's because of the monthly payment, because 99% that's what most people care about is, I want to make sure I don't pay more than $1,500 a month, including my taxes and insurance, or 2,000 or 3,000, whatever the number might be. Then it's our job to go back to them and say, well, that's great because your budget was 250. I think we should look at something as high as 300, hoping that we can negotiate a little bit, because the purchase price that you had at 250 last year, with the lowest interest rate, historically speaking, you can actually buy for the same amount a $275,000 home. Very, very different conversation, right? So that's why you need to understand that 13.4% more has been the increase in the purchase, in the affordability of those guys. All right, so next slide. The median sales price, or the closed sales for the month versus last month, a year ago. 5,116 sales were closed in the current month of April. Last year was 18.5% lower in terms of the number of units, right? So if you look at the graph here, April 12, 13, 14. So April 2019, we sold 6,275 homes. We were selling less. So now, so Don, let me ask you a question. From April 15th, right? If you see 5,003, then it goes higher, then it goes higher, then it goes higher, and then it goes lower. And if this number would have been a little bit lower than 6,200, couldn't you look at this data and say, looks like a graph to me. It was going up and now it's going down. So you can start thinking and say, that's why we start, I'm bringing in the name of the guy that, I'm in a class with, Gary Keller. He said, they look at this data all the time and start saying, seems like a shift is on its way. We don't know when, but seems like the graph is going down. So that's what it means when people say, well, I cannot predict what's going to happen next year because it could have gone down and gone up again, right? But if the trend is lower, then I can predict, or at least that if we are in a downward cycle, that means the price is going to go. And then people will ask you, why is that? I thought the prices should be going up. So if you look at this data, you need to understand that. And then now, knowing this data, you can have a conversation with somebody else and say, we had less sales in this market. Let's look at the next one. The new pendings, very important data. The new pendings is down 60% from last year. Year to date, we are 21% down in 2020 than 2019. Look at the number of sales that are going up. 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 in the 8, close to 9, 9,300. And then it would have shown us a trend. But now, at least looking at the trend, we see that the people who went under contract were so low. So there are two thoughts about it. Is that because people are not buying, or people couldn't buy? What do you guys think? Tom Grove, what do you think? I'm going to unmute you. My fault. Unmute. Okay,
Hello?
go ahead. Yes.
Hey. Can you repeat the question again?
The April 20 data shows about that we have the new pendings are low as 3,600 units were closed.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel that what's the reason for the pendings have gone down? Is because people couldn't afford it, or people, we know that pandemic happened, but do you think people would have continued buying it because their morale was high, the consumer confidence was high, or you think that in this market before COVID-19 that we were heading towards the lower pendings anyways because people would have been buying it?
I think that we definitely have momentum in the economy. I think there was some concern that there was potentially a little bit of a bubble in terms of the stock market being up so high and housing doing so well. But in general, yeah, the market was on pace. And then the pandemic happened and you see nobody's going, people weren't even allowed to go shopping. So of course pendings are going down. I don't even know how they're this much, but
it reminds me of a question, Tom, you and I had on the first meeting after the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I think you asked a question like, how can we tell our clients to actually go under contract? Is the right thing for us to do? And we had a conversation about it.
Yeah.
4,000 people felt it was okay.
Yep. Yep.
And then if you look at the data next month, all right, new listings for the month. In April 2020. Why did it move? Okay, can you see, does it say new listings? Does the screen, you guys see it? Okay. In April 2020, 4,500 owners decided they're going to put their property in the market. 4,500. 5,000 crazy sellers thought it was a good time to put in the market. So am I a student of history and data, or am I a student of my emotions? Or did this data just give me a good indication of how many sellers are thinking in their mindset? And can I use this data to go for my listing presentations if a seller asks me, should I put in the market today or not?
Are you asking me?
No, I was just making a statement. Sorry, I'm gonna put you back in here. But if I had this data, could I be more confident in telling the world that, Kirsten, you scared me for a second with Chris Stevens' photograph on your thing. Okay, next slide. Anybody has a question on this new listings? Would you have guessed that the new listings would have been much more smaller, much more lesser than in 2020 than 4,500? I would have probably thought that as well, right? That I would have not thought that almost 5,000 listings would have gone in the market.
Yeah, and Gaurav, if you go back to the pending sales, New Jersey's about half, and that was somewhat open. So I think it's a combination of business was just closed, so you couldn't show housing in PA, where in Jersey it was altered by obviously the pandemic, but it wasn't necessarily closed.
That's right. Yeah. All right, the next data. I want my screen always is because the new listings. The median days on the market. This is very interesting data. So while we're looking at all the information with the number of the pending sales going down, the number of new properties going in the market, the median days on the market, look at that. In the month of April, buyers thought that they don't have enough time because there's so much competition that they will actually go and buy the properties faster than ever in the last 10 years. Anyone wants to take a guess why that is 16 and why that number is the lowest in a pandemic?
Fewer properties?
Good thought. Part reason, yes. There's a very major reason why it became 16 as low as that.
Would it be price?
Prices.
Like, are they pricing it right to have them go off the market quicker?
So we didn't get it. I was thinking if I had a slide on up there which talked about the average price in the market. That's a part of it as well. But there's another major reason why the median days on the market went down.
I would say the motivation, Gaurav.
Did Gaurav go away?
The screen says Gaurav left.
How dare he?
Maybe his connection.
Party time.
Yeah.
Party.
Teacher's away. He's back.
Sorry, my laptop.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
All right, I restart. I'm gonna charge my laptop, but I'm sure the screen is gone, right?
Yes, it's going.
Okay, I just charged my laptop, so as it comes
Is
up.
now Chris Stevens.
Okay, all right. So the most important reason why the number of days went down so low is because people were not looking at 10, 20, 30 properties anymore. People who wanted to buy, they went to see 2 or 3 properties and put an offer. So there was not too much time between a buyer wanting to buy it and going and spending 3 months to look for it. They made the decision much faster. So as soon as the property came in the market and they wanted to see it, they didn't want to wait around too long because they didn't want to go and see 100 properties. There were not too many open houses happening. There was not too much inventory. Interest rates are still low. So all those reasons combined, but people did not go and look at that many properties. Whoever put under contract in the month of March and April and May, you probably must have experienced it. People saw 1, 2, or 3 properties and put an offer. Did you guys experience that as well? Many people who bought properties or who went under contract, they saw fewer properties than ever before. Made a big, big difference. So now the good question is, has our industry changed where people are going to get more comfortable looking at less properties and making offers? I don't know. But we now realize that if the buyer wants to, they could buy a property by looking at 3 properties and close within, and then put things under contract in the 16 days. Do you guys agree with that logic?
A lot of legwork prior to going out now. So our industry is changing in one respect because people can sit in front of the computers and look at these videos and pictures and everything else and really, really make a decision on what are the 3 that they're going to actually see. So the pandemic has forced us to do this. Our technology, thankfully, is good enough to narrow the amount, and people are used to buying that way now online. So with the pandemic, it's easier to see more things at home and then just pick your few. And that's
great point, Marcy. Let me ask you a question. are there more virtual tours now on every property than ever before?
Clearly.
Did people put more, did every agent on the listing side put in more energy and effort in making sure they have better photographs than ever before?
Absolutely.
Did we always make sure our listings have the best description possible to explain every single feature of the house in a description? Didn't we have the technology before?
Yes, and this pandemic has, for myself personally, I woulda, coulda, shoulda, and will in the future. And I didn't, for myself personally, I didn't use the technology the way this pandemic has said, look how much we could have been, how much further we would have been had we all just used just the video power, just all of that.
They say recession.
Start doing it now, but I would have personally been in a better position had I just taken it and run with it then. Thank you for giving us those opportunities and bringing those people in, by the way.
They say that a recession exposes everything. I'm back.
Point made.
I had to make somebody the host. All right. Back to this. Can I share my screen again? Go to, where's my PowerPoint? Hey, what happened to my PowerPoint? PowerPoint. Oh, hi, Graham.
Hi, guys.
Alrighty, so this is the other screen, and where's my video? My video is here. I have everybody here. Sorry, I have to just set this up again. I can see everybody. Okay, all right. Back to where we start. Everyone can see the median days on the market for the month screen here? Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so back to the 16 days conversation. So Marcy, going back to your conversation, we had the technology. A recession happened. We were just very comfortable not doing those things because it was okay. Where's my? What happened to my video? Okay. All right. Kate, can you, since I made you the host, I'm no longer the host. I cannot mute anybody or unmute it. Can you, I think anybody who's not muted, can you just mute them, please? All right, so going back to the 16 days. So Marcy, think about this, right? I could have done all those things. I could have done a better attraction with the clients. Clients could have actually seen all this data before. We could have done virtual tours. We could have done virtual staging. We could have taken better photographs. We could have been more detailed in making sure every data is available. We could have done virtual tours. We could have done recordings of videos and posted them. We could do all of these things, but we just didn't decide not to do it. And it takes a pandemic to remind us that we had the services and technology available. But what has happened with the recession is it exposes everything. And what it also does is it raises the bar. So now from our perspective, we have to make sure that we understand that since the bar has been raised, we need to keep up with it or the market will push us out because somebody else will do all those things. That became the new standard. The day that Apple launched the touch screen, everybody said that BlackBerry is the one that is going to always dominate because people love the idea of a touch of the buttons, and nobody wants to have a touch screen because you don't have the same experience. You remember that for BlackBerry? That was the answer that everybody was saying who still loved BlackBerry. What's the latest model BlackBerry launched last month or last year? all that that we were used to since Nokia, Samsung, everything, and BlackBerry was the most common thing. Everybody said we are so used to having the touch and feel of the buttons. We will never like having being on a touch screen because that is not what we like as humans. And that is not what we've been used to. So we should not change. But then people start experiencing it and saying, I like it. And I'm willing to change. And once that happened, BlackBerry died out. And then everybody, like Samsung, started saying, we're going to change. How fast did Samsung come up with a touchscreen phone after Apple came out? Less than 12 months. You think they were not researching it? No, it was a business decision. They did not launch it. But BlackBerry was not in the R&D of creating a touch screen because they were going with the philosophy that people will not change. And I don't need to change. That's a dinosaur mentality. I want to make sure none of us exist in that mentality. Things have changed. Things will continue to change. We need to change with times. For that means every listing, guys, go back and check every one of your listings. If you're not doing it, I'm going to find it because I'm going to go look at every listing. Go look at every listing, every rental listing, everything that you have available online and make sure it's the top notch, top of the line, every description. If it says parking, you have the parking information there. If it says a rooftop deck or common amenities in the pool, go make sure it exists. Put in as much data as possible. If you don't have a virtual tour, if your photographs are bad, if you don't have a video, if you don't have a, whatever it needs, you need to make sure that it's a top-notch listing. Anything a B-level job will get a B-level result. Everybody is changing with the way they buy real estate. You need to upgrade your side to make sure that you're on the receiving side when the client comes in. Get it? All right. Now, if you're listening with the market, it's 16 days. And we talked about the reasons. All right, next slide. The closed sales by price range. So this is Don, to your answer. Has prices gone up or prices gone down? And also, how much, what's the price range that people are buying most of the properties? Who's our client out there today? So April 19th, look at the, and April 19th, 216 homes were sold for less than 50K. In April 20, went to 96. Do you know why? You know why so much change in April 20 for less than 50K property? Bobby, you should know this answer. I'm not a host anymore, so you may have to unmute yourself and then speak and then mute yourself.
I didn't pay attention to what you were saying. I do apologize, but I'll come back to it.
That's okay. All right, so I asked the question again. In April 2019, we had 216 units sold for less than 50K. In April 20, we were 96. Why is that? Bobby, back to you again. Are you?
No, I'm unmuted, but
okay. If you're distracted, I can ask somebody else. All right, how about somebody else that I can ask this question? Who hasn't spoken? Danielle, you may know this answer.
Corona.
Corona did something, but why in that range? Why is the maximum number of reduction in percentage less than 50K?
Is it because of more developers probably living in that 50K price point?
All investors that were buying,
yeah, investors, and they couldn't go see the properties.
They're not buying that anymore because the idea for the people who are buying less than 50K properties was, I'm going to buy it, rehab it, and flip it, and that's a quick 90-day model.
Right.
When COVID-19 happened, the risk factor went so high that they didn't want to buy those empty shells or stuff like that anymore.
Right.
So that's why it saw the maximum reduction. Then the next maximum reduction was in the 50 to 99K, which is probably in the $60,000 to $70,000 range. Then it goes to 100 and then goes to 150. But look at this concept. As you go in a better price range, over 299, you actually started getting closer to positive. Isn't that interesting? In those price ranges, people were buying more property than last year. Or in that month, they were buying more properties than last year. That goes to the answer of buying power. People were able to buy at a higher price with the same monthly payment. So why would I not buy it? Last year, with the interest rate was 4.5, I was able to buy a $499,000 house. Now I can buy a $530,000 house. Why would I not buy for the same price? Right? That's why the people were buying in a higher price range. The 1 million to 2.4 million, we know the answer, because as you go to that high price range, people were mostly paying cash, and the stock market had a big impact, and the risk factor was pretty high. But in April, somebody still closed on a $5 million property. It could have been a development site or something. They were in contract for a long time. But look at the 10-year trend for months of supply. In April 2011, there were 11.9 months worth of supply available. So who is not paying attention? Let's pay attention now again, because it's one of the most important slides you'll see for your career.
So that was a buyer's market?
That was an absolute buyer's market. Absolute buyer's market. But look at the difference. We went from 12 months worth of supply to 2 months worth of supply. If your supply keeps going lower and lower every year, the demand goes higher and higher.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we always kept talking about we are in a 10th year of a 7-year cycle. Why? Because there was so much less supply, the market didn't change. People kept buying because they had to buy. They're always buyers. They're always buyers. As you can see, in a pandemic in April of 2020, they were buyers. There's always buyers. There's always sellers. They'll never go down to zero. Even a pandemic couldn't hold it. The question is, how do you find them? And what do you do to be part of them? We are 2.0, and what do you think will happen in May and June and July?
They keep going down.
They will keep going down. Because new construction is not coming in the market.
It's not happening.
People are not bringing that much new supply. So guess what the economists are saying? If it does not go higher, and the consumer confidence was fine, and the interest rates were low, that allowed them to buy a more expensive home, and this wasn't created because of economic shift, it was created because of a medical reason. Just like 9/11 was an impact that happened because of non-economical reasons, it came back faster. That's what they're saying about this economy. We are going to get out of this as fast as we went down, because this was not triggered because of consumer confidence or interest rates. Supply is still less, interest rates are still low, buyers are still out there. That's why the number of volume and the business and the market will just come back right away.
I have a question about that. Isn't it still an economic, not overall economic, but personal people who have lost their jobs? How can we determine how fast they're going to get their jobs back, get their financial security back? So I personally wouldn't have thought it's going to upswing just as fast as it went down, because the jobs need to open back up for this population of 15% who are unemployed, 80% who are temporarily unemployed.
So you're saying 80% of the population is temporarily unemployed?
Temporarily, that's what I read. Temporarily.
Where do you read that?
I read it somewhere. I'll look it up again, but I was even surprised at that. And that's something I wanted to also talk about. But I mean,
I have never read that number, and I don't think that's true. 80% will be riots. If
I mean, I guess it's with this, the unemployment being able to be offered to everybody who has their own businesses as well.
what I have read is if 40 million people are unemployed, and 80% of those 40 million people are temporarily unemployed. Did majority of the people, you don't have to answer this question. Majority of the agents file for unemployment. Are they unemployed? No.
No.
The majority of everybody who was in a restaurant business or in larger companies, they file for unemployment. Are they unemployed? No. The minute the retail opened up, that 40 million people will go down to a number which is substantially less. And they're saying 80% of those people will go back to workforce.
Gaurav, the economy-wise, most economists are not thinking, other than Trump, most economists are not thinking that we're going to have a V-shaped recovery. Just because sort of what Don was saying, but just because everything was peachy and going in the right direction, and it was a pandemic that caused the situation, it may pull us and has pulled us into a recession, where Don's right, recovery, job recovery, different kinds of jobs will come back. Some people won't, people will have to sell their house in the future because they lost their job yesterday. I do think the economy comes back, but I don't think it comes back at the speed it comes down.
You might be right. So if it's not a V, it might be a U.
I think it. Okay. I don't know.
So before we get into the economy of this thing, but you might be right. I'm not an economist, but I'm reading I'm telling you what I'm reading, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking, right or wrong. I feel that because the consumer confidence wasn't, if I was a buyer, and if I had a consumer confidence that I'm okay buying in this market, and I have a great advantage of low interest rates, and there is less supply, so I have to pick something that's available and I need to move, I will move. As a seller, if I see there's less supply out in the market and the buyer has a higher buying power, I have a higher probability of selling the units in faster than I'm going to sell. When people lose their jobs, it's a depression, not a recession. I always say that. When the neighbor loses a job, it's a recession. When I lose a job, it's a depression. So people will be losing jobs and will be not buying properties. But if 80% of people come back and the unemployment stays, at the 5 to 8%, the market is going to come back faster than we thought. I don't know how fast it might be, and if it's not going to be as fast as we lost it, then I apologize, but we'll have to watch and see. However, the stock market is coming back at the same pace. If people are watching, stock market is at 25,500 yesterday. It went from 29,000 down to 18,000, is back to 25,500. So that stock market has been a very clear indication of a V curve. We don't know how the real estate will impact, but
no.
That's how I feel.
The stock market in general has been benefiting companies like Amazon in general, other than the past 2 days, benefiting companies that are the tech companies that are setting all-time highs. It was the infrastructure and the main economy, the manufacturing that was just getting brutalized until the past 2 days. But it's really hard to tell what those 2 days are predicting for the future, because
people make that's correct. People make money in the stock market, with what they're investing in. If it could be bond, it could be the SCP, SEP IRA monies. It's a total. That's why the market is at 25,500. So okay, we're getting off a tangent. And if you don't think don't think that the market is not going to come back. How fast it comes back doesn't matter. Prepare if it's going to come back tomorrow, or prepare if it comes back next year. You need to work to make sure it comes back, like it's coming back tomorrow. Billy, you had your hand up. It says raise hand. You want to say something? Billy? Okay, waiting.
Sorry, Gaurav.
Yes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to answer the question in regards to the under 50,000 and 100,000.
Oh yeah, that's good. Do you agree with the analogy, or do you have other thoughts?
That was it basically. Besides the confidence of the investors or the people who are building or putting the money in the rehabs, a lot of it probably had to do with the licensing and the city being shut down, and they couldn't really keep their money moving.
Right.
So
okay, no, cool. So the 10-year trend for all pendings and the 10-year trend for average sales price to original list price ratio. So 10-year trend, all pendings. Obviously, we have less number of properties going pending in April, but it's not zero. It's 10,000 pending transactions in April 2020. And this is a different data because now we're going to the whole bright areas in Maryland and Virginia and those places as well. I want to grow on a bigger scale. And then the average sales price to original list price ratio is 98%, is the highest it has ever been in the history. Noah Burson had a property that he put an offer with his clients yesterday at a full price offer. And they came back and said, we have multiple offers. He's in a bidding war right now. Full price offer got rejected. So people are paying 98.6% because the supply is less. If they want to buy and they can buy more house for the same amount of monthly payment, they are okay paying for it. Then you also need to look at the data that the KW Philadelphia sends out, and I was an integral part of making sure that this data comes out every day. This is the easiest data that we're putting out. Every day. Just examples, 2 examples. You go into the Facebook page of KW Philadelphia, you have this data every day. New listings, new contracts, number of closings, how many properties had a price increase and how many properties had a price decrease on a daily basis. It's right in your fingertips. Use it. If you don't go check KW Philadelphia's page, we publish a lot of information there. All right, this is more data from Bright MLS, and it just talks about the 3 quarters of the first quarter only, so that we can, we have annual data that we've been looking at. We can look at the quarter data. So if you look at the quarterly data, you can see that the homes for sales have gone down. The number of closed transactions in that quarter only was going up because it includes the January, February, and March. And March was, almost doing much better than the previous years. Then here's another data. You have the Philadelphia County, PA by zip codes. It's also available on MLS. You should be looking at your zip code when you're having a conversation with your seller, with your buyer. You can look at this data and comment on it, and how does the median price has changed? What is the average price when people are bidding on it? How much price reduction are they getting? All right, as we have moved into the store in the strange new world of 2020's market, we have encountered events that we have never previously imagined with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. One would be expecting a market that was grinding to a halt with an oversupply of sellers facing a severe shortage of buyers. However, all of the bad news driven by the pandemic has caused a decline in the rate of properties coming to the market. So it's the number of units going in the market have even continued to go low. At the same time, the overall impact on the economy has been quite dreadful, with heavy loss of employment, coupled with the loss of value of many families' investment properties. So we also understand that is going to be a crazy. I think that's what Don and what Tom Grohl was talking about. That with the unemployment and the loss of value and people losing, their investments. How are they going to continue buying, and that may change the buying power, and the economy may not come back at the same speed. Yes, those are all being part of this. This creates a very unique situation. Decreasing supply being met by one aspect of demand that's positive, and another with a negative pressure. We are in a very, very unique situation. It's easy to see that there is still strong support in the buying side of the market from demand that was already present, plus incorrect assumptions that many property owners were going to have to sell because of the adjusted economy. How many of you had buyers that actually called you and say, how much discount can I get in the property because we're in pandemic now? The unrealistic expectation from the buyers has been, how much discount can I get? So from demand, plus incorrect assumptions that many property owners were going to have to sell because of the adjusted economy. The direct influx of the stimulus money has helped, and the furloughing by the lenders for many of the properties or the mortgage payments has helped for the sellers not to be in that situation. What do I do naturally well that I know of? I need to understand the data. Drastic drop in the number of properties coming on the market, which in turn has maintained support for prices at their current levels. And we saw that, right? We saw that you can get a 98.6% list to purchase price. We are seeing that the number of supply in the market is at 2.2 months. So what should your mindset be? You need to say this to yourself. I need to be strong for myself and those around me. I need to stay and keep everyone around me safe and healthy. We are doing business on a digital platform and can do from start to finish on this platform. I am a consultant, not a salesperson. You need to know your market. Now is the time to fix all inefficiencies and create better processes. How much market share as a team and as a company can I help grow during this time, because the competition will have their heads down pouting? What do I need to do to achieve that goal? I am so lucky to be surrounded by so many amazing people. Here's a chance for me to be the best I can be. Am I going to own it or blow it? I love that. I love it. All right, your mindset. Change the way you look at things, and the things that you look at will change. You cannot measure what you cannot track. Know your numbers. If you don't have 50% plus coming from referrals or through your database or repeat business, then your business is very vulnerable. People want the title, not the job. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a business owner, but I will not do or what it'll take for me to run a business. Sometimes the best opportunity you're looking for is the opportunity that you currently have. But we don't get purposeful to make sure that we make the best that we can be, or to make the best out of that. Either you have a lead problem or a leverage problem. What are you doing to fix this? Our business is basically two things. Get the business and close it. You generate a lead and you use leverage to close it. So either you have a lead problem or a leverage problem. I can tell you by guaranteeing, our team does not have a leverage problem. I know the competition. I know the people in the teams in the country. I'm on Zoom calls after Zoom calls on a daily basis. Our team does more than an average team in the country, or even the top 100 teams. This is my sport, and I'm going to master it better than anyone else. So I'm rephrasing Michael Jordan from that new show that he has. Awesome, awesome, awesome show. Oh my God, gives me goosebumps. If you haven't seen that show, go and watch it. Talks about a leader, talks about a champion, talks about the mindset of a champion. And he said, this is my sport and I'm going to master it better than anyone else. And we also talked about last time, how do you get whatever you want? By doing whatever it takes. What disruption am I causing right now in my market? What am I doing different than I have ever done to take over the market? And this is one of the masterminds that Diana Kokoska was doing. She said, run by the BCD model. What's between birth and death? B stands for birth, D for death, is between life from start to finish. What's between your birth and death? It's C. It's your choices that you make. That's all. Conclusion came down to the 3 C's: confidence, consistency, and commitment. Don't let these 3 words just become 3 words. Think about it. You need to be confident you can do this, and I know you can. You have to be consistent every day. And you need to commit to it that you're going to do it. And that's what I'm working on. Here's my chance for me to be the best I can be. Am I going to own it or do it? All right, that took me 5 hours to create, sorry. It takes a lot of research, reading, thought process. But I thought it was very important for me personally. So I started thinking, since nobody was guiding me of what they wanted to know, I started thinking about myself. What do I need to know about my business? And I thought this data was helpful for me. When I was reading it, got me excited. So hopefully it was helpful. I told you, I take it about an hour and a half. So let's talk about a few things about what we learned, what we discussed. And I appreciate. I'm not always right. I'm going with what I think. I appreciate feedback, but we can have a discussion. The whole idea is to have a discussion. This is not. Whatever you take from this to help you build your business and be better is all my goal is. If you felt this data was wrong or my concepts were not correct, whatever works for you is perfect for me. And we can all talk about, maybe you can help me learn as well. So that's why we have to have a discussion.
I personally want to say thank you for this. This was absolutely amazing and insightful. So this is something that, I know I keep forgetting to do, and it's my fault, and I take full accountability for that. But this is so critical, and it really opens everything up and really sees it from a buyer's perspective, even from a seller's perspective. It gives them a better understanding of us just saying, oh, well, 10 houses sold and this, and here goes your comps. This is really, really good. And if we bare bone this to sellers, not overbear them, I really think this is so helpful for my knowledge. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was absolutely incredible.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
I second that.
It's awesome. All right. Any thoughts? Anything you want to add?
I was actually asked that question. I guess I get asked every single day, and surprisingly, I'd say about 5 people who I never thought would be selling or moving. They actually reached out to me this week, and all of them asked me what I thought, how the market is. So this was extremely useful. And what I appreciate the team has done for me is, when people think of real estate, they think of me. It's through marketing, it's through having a strong brand behind me. So I'm I'm very honored to be a part of that. And thank you for this training.
No, my pleasure. What else, guys? I appreciate you all thanking me for the training, but let's talk about what stood out. Let's just talk about what stood out. What is that one thing that you'll take with you that you make part of your business right now? Yes, Bobby.
So when you were talking about BlackBerry and iPhones, I come from that culture. I've sold BlackBerries, Palms, HP for 17 years of my life. So, and when you were saying that, it just hit me more than anything, because I felt I am right now a BlackBerry because I have not been changing. I'm not being flexible, and it was a little alarming, but I do not want to be a BlackBerry, even though a BlackBerry came with a touchscreen, but they had missed their market already. So it was different, related to me, but I'm going to work on it.
Knowing you're not a BlackBerry. I know what you do, but it's good to be tough on yourself at times, right?
Yes.
It's good to say that I'm going to do that at the next level, because what you're basically saying is I'm not happy that I'm not achieving or changing and doing things that I know I could and I'm capable.
True.
So it's a mindset, and that's what you're building. You're building your mindset by saying, Bobby, I can do more and I'm not doing it. Am I going to be the BlackBerry or not? So I'm going to go to the next level and I'm going to do things differently. Well, that's what is needed. It's the last recession that happened, 33% of agents left the business. So 1/3 of the industry just fell out. And I know I'm looking at the names and faces and people who are involved. See, we are part of the remaining 66%. Because we are putting the time, energy, leveraging, lead generation, growth, database, online presence, reaching out to our clients, learning, educating, doing what it takes to be part of that remaining 66, 70, don't quote me on 33%. I think it's like 36 or 35 or whatever the number might be. We are the top people who will survive, because we are purposefully making sure we are doing things that will allow us to stay in business. But that's another thing that we could think of is, people who will not be wanting to stay in this business, the number of transactions still going to remain the same. That's not going to change because the agent decided not to be in business. That means more business for us. So what are we doing to go capture that market? Who is that who is not actually wanting to change and wants to stay like a BlackBerry, or the old ways of doing things, or the old mindset. Because, and each one of us has experience from agents like, I have been in business for 25 years. You don't tell me what to do because I've seen it all. No, you have not. That's a mindset issue. Nobody has seen what it's all about. So we need to continue looking at better ways of doing business. We have enough leverage around us to take advantage. There's enough information. It's overload of information at times. So we need to screen that information for us to make sure that we learn and use to implement it. Every day, set your calendar. And Don, I'll give you an example of very easy. On your calendar, put a note, check market statistics on the 1st, and put a reminder, repeat every month. And that's one thing when you wake up in the morning and you're doing your prospecting, or you're doing your time management, or if you have time limited, or whatever you're doing on the 1st, even if it's a Sunday, what you do on the 1st of every month for your business is you go look at the market report. I don't think it comes on the 1st. I think it comes on like a 10th of every month. If you put a reminder, it will happen. I assure you, all the people that you're on this call, 90% of you guys have something reminder that 10:30 call is happening on Thursdays. And there's at least another 5 or 7 people who would want to be on this call, but they're not because they forgot. Or it was too late for them to come on this call because they didn't put it on their calendar. And they double booked with somebody else. While we are all working to make money, conversations like these are extremely important. If your mindset is not there, it doesn't matter. The activity will reflect your mindset and catch up with you soon. If you're getting that mental, I heard this yesterday, it's called brain candy. Wherever you're getting brain candy from, go and get it. I love the word brain candy. It's like feeding my brain with sugar, or like with positivity, basically. Wherever you're getting it, go get it. If I can help in doing that, that's the role of me as a team leader. Nobody can do what you can do, but you need to be willing to do that. This business is simple, not easy. Very simple. You got to do certain things. Be consistent. Be very consistent. Okay, don't have to stick around till 12. So I think for the first time, I'm ending the meeting earlier. So I thought a few more topics that I don't know if, has anybody any suggestions? Actually next, okay, this is, I took your advice. Who was saying this? Mike Cohen. Next week, we'll do a full COVID-19, how to do showings, best practices, what to be ready for, what are the scripts, what to take with you, what forms to fill. We'll do a whole 9-yard of COVID-19. I'll reach out to other teams in the country. I'll make a full research training, not just putting 2 forms out. But next week, what the team is doing, what can a team prepare for as a team in advance. Our team will actually now create. I was talking to Kate yesterday, that we can create a 1-page which is generic for the team, that you can just print and give it to the seller to post outside the door. So when they have showings, give it to the sellers. This is what we do in a COVID-19. So we'll create standards and some things that we can use for our team throughout. So you don't have, each one of them doesn't have to go and create their own. That's part of leveraging with the team. So we'll create that by next week for buyers, sellers, and all the forms and everything else. So that is one that I thought was a good conversation, and it's perfect that we need to do that anyway. And then after that, I was taking some more notes on different concepts, and there was another thought that I had was the top 10 tricks in marketing in business. I learned this, crazy things. One of them that triggered this concept in my mind was, do you know in Facebook you can actually create groups? You can create groups and then look at so I didn't realize this. When I see my Facebook page and I see a news feed, I have like 5,000 friends, and whatever comes out first, and I scroll down to maybe like 3 minutes and then I'm done. And sometimes my wife will come and say, hey, did you see that, this happened? And I was like, I didn't even show up. So, instead of having a news feed of certain people on the whole Facebook, you can have a certain news feed for certain groups. So I can see family, past clients, future clients, agents in East Coast, agents in my team, agents in TCS management, like I can create groups and see what's going on in their lives, or how can I comment on, on something because of that. So I thought it was pretty cool that you can do that. I never knew that existed. So, things like that. I'm going to reach out to everybody in the country. I'm going to post in Gary Keller's group, people, what are the tricks that they know? And then I'll create a class on that. There's 10 unique marketing tricks that we should do that people are doing, so we can get better. Another one that I thought was, the listing best practices. Now with the new normal that we talked about today, Marcy, how to ramp up the game from our side. We'll put some more things on, make sure that these things are done. Because that will be the expected thing. So that's I'm going to start preparing for the next 2-3 meetings as well. But keep bringing some ideas. We can go back and talk about different things, but the mindset is key. Mindset and leverage. That's what's going to define your business.
Hey Gaurav, this is Graham. I have a quick question for you. I'm sorry if this is a typical thing. I just I'm getting used to obviously the new way here at, on the team, but do you typically send your slides out for each of these classes?
Yeah, right after the class. Kirsten is going to send the slides to everybody. If you haven't met Kirsten is the executive assistant for the team, and she helps me a lot to run my business in all businesses. So she'll send out these. So keep an eye on Kirsten's email. You'll start hearing from her a lot more.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, so it's 10:30 every Thursday. I think I've been pretty consistent with this, and that's part of being consistent, right? I keep saying the 3 C's. I'm committed, and I'm confident I can keep this time, and I'm confident that this is actually going to help our team, and I'm going to stay consistent. Otherwise, it just loses its value. So thank you all. We started with 3 people in first class when we started in the upstairs in Aria, and we're down to like 25 people now. So it's pretty cool. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Let's go take over, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Gaurav. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Bye, guys.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.